Most of the world is carpeted, and one day we will do the cleaning. Because we watched Season 8, Episode 7, The Checks. So Katie.
Hi.
How'd you like The Checks?
What the was this?
You laughed?
Listen, it's been noted that me laughing does not necessarily mean that I like the episode or it's a good episode.
Doesn't indicate if you are enjoying yourself.
No.
Doesn't indicate if it's a good episode. Doesn't indicate if something is funny. It's just an involuntary reaction.
No. I'm going to argue the fact that I laughed out loud several times means they had 3 good jokes and they wrote a episode around them.
I will give you that sometimes you can have 4 ideas that you try to smush together.
Yeah.
I think this might be a little bit of like a tipping point, an inflection in Seinfeld.
Does it get better or worse after this?
I think it's firmly into its absurdist era.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
When I was watching this episode, I was like, how do the people in it feel about this?
The actors or the characters?
The actors.
Oh, okay.
Like, some of the stuff they were saying, I'm like, how do you... Anyway.
So... the writing credit for The Checks is technically Steve O'Donnell with Tom Gamble and Max Prost.
Of course.
With a slight asterisk, and I will read from Wikipedia.
Okay.
The episode was written by the veteran Seinfeld writing partnership of Tom Gamble and Max Prost from a rough outline by Steve O'Donnell, which included several key ideas used...
3 jokes.
Used in the completed episode. Gamble and Prost had left Seinfeld writing staff after season 7, but their new contract allowed them to still, quote-unquote, consult on Seinfeld, which gave them the opportunity to script The Checks. Their contract was subsequently revised to close this unintended loophole, preventing them from writing any further Seinfeld episodes.
This does feel like it was written by consultants.
I kind of like that it's like, this episode is so bad, we're going to amend your contract so you can't do this anymore. It was directed by Andy Ackerman. It aired on November 7th, 1996. Watch.com ranked it as the 148th best episode. Screen Crush had it at 132, and IMDb a similar 136th.
But it's still an 8.0?
Still an 8 flat out of 10.
Called it. Okay.
So what would you like to talk about?
The guest stars?
Oh, the guest stars.
I know one.
Which one do you know?
I don't know his name. One of the Japanese businessmen was in 16 Candles. As a terrible Asian stereotype.
Getty Watanabe played Mr. O, was in 16 Candles, where he played Long Duck Dong.
Mm-hmm. And in this one, he's playing a terrible Asian stereotype.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Gremlins 2, the new batch. He was also in UHF, and he aired in an episode of The Weird Al Show.
I'm a fan of his.
Oh, sure, yeah. He's good.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. Seb Shimono played the TV executive. He was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Waterworld, and a TV show called Magic Mongo. The doctor in the tag, I guess, he was played by legendary stand-up comedian George Wallace, who, on top of being in like several stand-up specials, was also in The Lady Killers. He was the mayor in Batman Forever, which you might forget because that movie was overshadowed by, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was also in The Detroiters.
That's where I know him from.
He's a legend.
I know. I recognize his face, but most recently we've seen him in the Detroiters.
I also looked up Jack Plotnick, who played the
carpet cleaner guy,
the crew leader of the carpet cleaners when they're in George's apartment. He was because he looked kind of familiar.
Yeah,
wasn't really in anything I knew. He was in a movie called Waffle Hut.
Is that a Waffle House spoof?
A movie called Girls Will Be Girls, but I probably recognize his face from being in a bunch of episodes of Reno 911.
Oh,
which I didn't really watch, but
it was always on.
It's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. So let's throw it back to last week when I asked you if you remembered this episode.
So Jerry keeps getting, what's it called?
Checks.
What's it called when you get like
royalties?
Royalty checks from appearances on Japanese television.
Well,
I think I nailed it.
I'll read the synopsis. So I'll read it, and then I will comment on my reading as I go.
Sure.
Jerry gets checks for 12 cents. Kramer hosts Japanese businessmen. Aside. Oh, no. Elaine's boyfriend thinks Jerry is poor. George encounters a carpet cleaning cult, and then I laughed out loud.
So do you want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Okay.
So as I was reading, first off, I if I remember correctly, I didn't mention the Japanese businessmen in my mainly because I didn't remember how good or bad the episode played out. When I was researching this episode, one of the things that it made note of, while the three businessmen are, somewhat caricature of a Japanese tourist, most of the jokes are about Kramer's ignorance and
true
stereotypes and his misunderstanding of Japanese culture more than anything.
True.
So maybe it gets a
soft pass.
It's it's racism with a lowercase r.
Yeah. Okay. What did you laugh about when you started researching? Because after every episode, you sit down at your computer and you get the Screen Crush and Vulture rankings, and I look at my phone until you're ready to record the episode. You sat down and laughed for, I wrote down, a good 30 seconds.
It's called being a professional, is doing the research. It was the Max Prost having their contracts amended. That got a bigger laugh than this entire episode from you.
Oh,
yeah. I have seen it before.
Hey, is this why you sing Desperado a lot?
Probably.
The first time I ever heard this song was you singing it.
The first time you ever heard Desperado was me singing?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, it's a classic.
Where would I have heard Linda Ronstadt? On CHFI? I didn't know this song before you sang it.
Desperado played. Do you remember when we used to do trivia at the Highlander in the market before we lived in this house?
Yeah.
It played there one time.
Oh my God. Why do you remember that? That was 13 years ago.
My broken brain stores things that aren't important.
Yeah, it doesn't store anything that I say about plans that we're making, but it remembers that in the Highlander pub in 2011, they played Desperado during trivia night.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Are you that guy? Are you Brett? Do you go into a fugue state when you hear that song?
Apparently that was based off a real person that Steve O'Donnell knew.
See, because you sang it all the time, I thought the Me First and the Gimme Gimmes covered it.
They did.
Okay. Did they?
Some punk band covered it.
Okay.
I'm second guessing myself.
We'll
catch it in corrections and omissions.
Okay, so I didn't really write a lot about anything Kramer did or the Japanese businessman, except at one point I just wrote, oh boy. I don't even remember why. I think when he put them in the drawers.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, going through, the start of my notes, we talked about how this season was the first season where Jerry took over as executive producer and he didn't feel he had enough time to do the stand-up bits. And then this opening is clearly just like...
Well, this is one of the places I laugh because Elaine says, what is this, a bit? And he says, no, we're just talking.
That hit very close to home because whenever I talk to you now,
yes.
you and our daughter chime in and ask me if I'm telling a joke.
It's because you tell a joke to your staff every morning.
I do.
So we just assume that anything you say, you're workshopping material for your morning stand-up routine.
Workshopping material for my morning stand-up routine / sharing a hilarious joke with my family / just talking. Sometimes I'm just like asking you a question and I get interrupted.
And our kid will be like, is this a bit?
You laughed at my joke this morning.
About the plaque?
No.
Oh.
About how I can't take our dog to the dog park anymore.
Why?
The ducks keep chasing her and biting her.
You didn't tell me this joke.
She's purebred.
You didn't tell me this joke. You imagined my laughter. This is the first time I'm hearing this joke.
Did you laugh at the plaque joke then?
No. You have to tell the plaque joke.
No, we'll save it.
I guess I've given away the punchline.
Did you know that most people go their whole lives without ever sitting in a Fargman?
I love Fargman.
Is he a real person? Is that a real thing?
I don't think so.
Like an Eames?
I was thinking of Eames. But Fargman is in Brett's car later. Like,
he's a guy, yeah.
I know he is a guy, but like Eames was a guy in the 60s.
Apparently.
And his wife.
His wife was a guy?
She designed the furniture too.
Apparently in like a season 2 episode, Elaine makes reference to a house being a Mark Fargman. Like an architect or something like that. So there's like
this is continuity?
A design empire in the Seinfeldiverse of Fargmans. Whether or not it's intentional or not, or somebody just knew somebody named Fargman.
It's Farbman.
Farb?
Yeah.
Not with a G?
No.
A B?
Farbman.
Flickman? I did like the bit where Jerry, whether it was purposeful or not, forgot that it was Farbman and mispronounced it to annoy. Oh, what was that guy? I didn't even like...
Brett?
Yeah, write him down. Who was that actor?
I don't know. He was weird looking, but sort of familiar. I can correct it later. Speaking of Brett, I laughed out loud when Jerry said, "When do I meet this jerk?"
Yep.
I think I wrote down all the times I laughed. When do I meet this jerk? Who buys an umbrella anyway? They're free in the metal can.
You did laugh at that.
And I'll save, the other time I laughed out loud was at the end, when George frantically calls Jerry because the Japanese businessmen aren't there. And he blurts out the whole, "You got to wake him up and bring them here and Kramer, da, 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 da." Uncle Leo?
No.
It's so dumb and it's so simple. But after this episode, I was like, I like this. I like Jerry being smarmy to George. Back to the basics.
I thought that was a good one. The other little bit that is kind of in there for no reason was the Boogity Man.
I wrote down Boogity Man.
Like this weird non sequitur about Elaine not knowing the Boogeyman versus the Boogity Man.
This really feels like script by committee. Everyone gets a joke into this one.
I feel like that was somebody like as a child or their kid.
This is bum chuckles.
I have to explain what bum chuckles are.
Well,
growing up, my mother did not want us to use the word fart. and so instructed us to use the term bum chuckles instead.
Uh-huh.
And as a, like, from the time I was, for all time I can remember, for every, like, I had just been told that it was a bum chuckle, not, like, being able to, like, parse out that I was saying, like, bum hyphen chuckle, or...
So this was a family word. This was the word to you.
But it was normal. It was,
Yeah.
but, like, I didn't know it was a family word. I thought that was what everybody called it. And then my sister, like, used that term in front of, like, family friends when we were, I don't know, I was probably 12. And they mercilessly made fun of us.
As they should. To be fair, farts are always funny.
Yeah.
So they lead to chuckles.
I saw on Twitter somebody said you either grow up in a fart positive household or a household where farts are shame.
What's the saying? You don't have to be smart to laugh at a fart joke, but you gotta be stupid not to. I think your dad said that. I mean, maybe he didn't think of it, but that's where I heard the quote from.
From my dad?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure I read that off Twitter.
So Elaine wants a song because Brett has Desperado, and she suggests Witchy Woman because she likes it.
It's a good song.
What's our song?
I was going to ask you this.
What is our song?
I don't know. What is our song? Linda Belcher singing the Thanksgiving song from Bob's Burgers?
Like, there's no... We didn't have, like, a song that we danced to at our wedding or anything. Like, we don't have a romantic song. I think we have silly songs.
Something by Linda Ronstadt?
Listen, the last note that I wrote in this episode, because of the closing tag, was Banana Phone.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that might be our song.
That's unfortunate.
Because when the doctor, like starts turning his head and he hears the music, I didn't really think of it with Desperado with Brett. He just kind of, like, spaces out a little bit. But that doctor was like...
What is this?
It's like when you see animals who have rabies. They're
What
just,
is
like,
what?
turning their heads to the sky.
What?
I think they...
The song playing.
I think they did George Wallace a
Listen, I have
disservice.
no idea what you're talking about, okay?
And
Whatever.
like
Just turn it
the
down.
zoning out, like, I think both
Yeah,
of those
sure,
could be
buddy.
like,
I'll get right on that.
both of those looks could be considered zoning
Banana
out,
Yeah.
phone?
but they're
What the
very
fuck?
different
Yeah.
zoning outs.
Yeah.
One is like
Banana
I'm enveloped in the song, I'm absorbing
What
it, like
song?
it's engrossing me.
Oh, don't ask him. He's being a dick.
The other one is like,
You know, sometimes you try too hard.
I've been infected with this.
yeah, I'm turning into, my brain's been turned to much, and I'm starting to drool.
I hear no song.
So, I got to go back to Banana Phone because shortly after we started dating, I saw this Flash video. I don't know if you saw it first or I saw it first.
The kid rocking back and forth until his head explodes?
Yes.
Yeah.
In case people aren't aware of the classic Flash movie of someone getting the Raffi song Banana Phone stuck in their head.
Raffi was Canadian.
No.
No?
You're thinking of Fred Penner. Common
Oh,
mistake.
Yeah.
Anyway, off topic.
Sharon Lois and Brum?
Sorry, what?
Sharon Lois and Bram? Who's named Bram?
Bram Stoker? That's two Brams. Banana Phone.
Fred Penner.
No. So, long story short,
Raffi.
there's two guys in this cartoon who are friends or roommates or whatever, and one of them kind of like spaces out, or he starts hearing the Banana Phone song, and he's like, "What is that?" And the other guy doesn't hear it, and so he slowly goes crazy hearing this song, and he's freaking out, and his roommate, like, I think tries to slap him out of it or something, and there's like and he starts hearing it. And so it infects him, and you just like see his head bobbing back and forth to the tune of Banana Phone, which I'm definitely going to put under this whole conversation in the edit. I forget how it ends.
His head explodes.
Oh, okay.
Banana phone is the cordyceps from The Last of Us.
It's not a reference I get. We didn't even talk about the checks. That's how insane this episode is.
I mean, the checks are just a vehicle. I guess they're a little bit more than that. I was going to say the checks are just a vehicle for him to have a sore hand so he can't open the drawers and he has to destroy the Farbman chest.
Farbman.
Yeah. But I guess it does also serve the...
It ties together the TV pitch.
And Brett thinking that Jerry is poor because he's cashing 12-cent checks.
Okay, here's what I would have done if I was the story editor. Umbrella stuff. That was like the 5th storyline in this stupid episode.
So that's one of the other storylines that is rooted in truth. In the 1980s, Jerry Seinfeld apparently did sell umbrellas on the street in New York City, and does say that he invented the twirling motion to help sales.
No one had ever twirled an umbrella.
This is one of those things where it's like, come on. Like, no other salesman in history was ever like...
There's a whole sign twirling profession.
Mm.
Signs and umbrellas are the same thing. You twirl to get attention.
Yeah, he invented that too.
That's why he's so rich now. Have you seen him lately? He's very tan.
Yeah, he got plugs, remember? I showed you those pictures of him.
Yeah, but he's also now very, very tan.
Well, we can afford the sun.
It's not a good look. You know what is a good look? George in a backwards baseball cap.
He's worn that hat before.
Works for me.
Really? It's like a weird elastic cap.
It is a weird hat. I don't know. Maybe it covers the fact... It covers the fact that he doesn't have hair under there. He's just casually hanging around his apartment in his long shirt and backwards hat. I don't know.
Do you ever watch or listen to... Do you ever watch his podcast? Do you ever listen to his podcast?
I think I listened to one.
Occasionally I will get his podcast because I guess they film it and put it out on YouTube and put out clips in Instagram or whatever.
Is it good?
It came across my feed today, which is why I thought about it. There was they had a comedian on that told a joke.
As they're known to do.
Yeah.
What's his premise? Is it just this is Jason Alexander's podcast?
I think didn't originally he was just going to do 6 episodes.
Oh, they always say that.
Yeah, and then now it's turned into a whole thing.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus did the same thing with her podcast, which I listened to one episode of.
Do you want to hear the joke?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this husband goes into a doctor and he says to the doctor, my wife, she's starting to lose her hearing, but she's really embarrassed about it. I tried to convince her to come in here. And she refuses, but I thought I'd come in and just ask you, is there anything we can do? And so the doctor says, well, I need to know, how deaf is she? So what you have to do is you have to go and ask her a question being, further away and get closer and closer and closer. And then tell me when she eventually hears your question. So the husband says, okay, I'll do that. So he goes home. He's 40 feet away from her and he says, honey, what's for dinner? No response. So he walks a little bit closer. He's 30 feet away from her. He says, honey, what's for dinner? No response. He's 20 feet away from me. He says, honey, what's for dinner? No response. He's 10 feet away from me. He says, honey, what's for dinner? She says, for the 4th time, chicken.
Ha.
And so that's the same joke as an old man, an 87-year-old, he goes in with his wife, 85 years old. He says to the doctor, he says, doctor, I want to get my sperm count checked. And the doctor's like, you're super old. Why do you want to have this done? He says, I just want to have it done. Prove that I'm still, young and virile. And so the doctor says, okay, here's the jar, take it home, fill it up, come back. And so the next day, the guy comes back in with the jar, and the jar's empty. The doctor says, "What happened?" And the guy says, "I was trying with my right hand. I was trying with my left hand. My wife was trying with her right hand. She was trying with her left hand. I went to the neighbor. My neighbor, she was trying with her right hand. She was trying with her left hand. And none of us could get the lid off."
Are you going to tell that one at work tomorrow?
Probably not.
You could tell the chicken one.
I could tell the chicken one.
Well, that's all my notes on this episode. How about you?
You've lived in this country for too long. You've forgotten what it's like to have no oranges.
So you understand Japanese. Were they saying what their subtitles said they were saying?
I don't understand it that well.
Oh. I mean, they were pretty short sentences, really.
Did you understand it?
I don't speak Japanese.
So, like, they used, like, oranji for the word oranges.
Mm-hmm.
I caught that.
Me too.
Good for you. All right, let's end this thing. What's next?
Well, we have some corrections.
Okay.
Nah. I don't even know why I wrote what I wrote, so never mind.
You printed them off, and I was going to read them before we recorded this episode, and you like violently took them away from me and hid them, and now you're not going to even read them?
I wrote pans are all clad. I don't know what that's referring to.
Oh, we were talking about the name of the good pans.
Okay, it's all clad.
All clad? Yeah.
There's a real showstopper there.
There's a Black Friday sale on right now for some mizzen pans.
What's a mizzen pan?
Those are the hot pans on Instagram.
What does it look like? What does it do?
It's a stainless steel pan.
Oh, what makes it? Is it the mizzen mast? Is it like ship related?
I don't know.
Okay. Next week is the chicken roaster.
Yep.
What's it about?
Kenny Rogers Roasters opens in the neighborhood, and their sign lights up Kramer's apartment so much that he and Jerry need to switch apartments because the light is keeping them up at night.
Okay. I gotta say, I don't have high hopes.
George gets a funny hat.
Okay. Well, bye.
Bye-bye.
Banana